It's morning in Tanzania, and I meet the other hiker that will ascend Mount Kilimanjaro with me. She's 28, she's French, she smokes a pack of cigarettes a day, and she's a worker for a non-profit in the Congo. Our support team has 12 people, 2 guides, 2 cooks, and 8 porters, and that's what it takes to get 2 tourists to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. We're taking the Masheme Trail, which is popular because it has a nice ascent that allows you to acclimatize to the high altitude over many days. Then we hike through a cloud forest with monkeys bouncing in the moss-covered trees above us. The trail's clearly marked and there's just no way to get lost. It's a cold morning and we have some drama before we depart. Marie's hiking pole has broken and one of the guides has to do some handiwork to fix it. Finally, we leave at 8:30 a.m. and begin the walk, but the guides keep telling me, "Pulley, pulley," which means slower, slower, relax. They don't want me to get too far ahead of Marie. Finally, I stop, and I ask if I can hike at my own pace, and they say, yeah, that's okay. So today's hike is no problem with a few spots of rock climbing. We leave the cloud forest from yesterday behind us, and now we're hiking through much sparser vegetation. The plants are specially adapted here to high altitudes, and we see many Senecio trees, which are only found in these parts, but they remind me of the Joshua trees in California. I can't sleep in the cold, so I leave my tent and get out to watch the sunrise. Marie also wakes up early and she wants to borrow my toothpaste, but I've already packed it away, so she's out of luck today. I'm not sure what to wear at this altitude. The guides haven't been much help, so I don't want to carry much more than I have to, and I go lightweight with my long underwear, undershorts, and a fleece jacket, and it's the right decision. I'm comfortable. We hike in the clouds and I see a few new plants, but the landscape's very similar to yesterday. Today we don't claim much altitude, which allows us to adjust to the thinner air before going higher. I listen to my podcast while we climb. I wake up after a good sleep at Barranco Camp and I discover that my tent's covered in a sheet of ice. I start hiking that morning at 7:30 a.m. and I encounter a bit of snow and even some thunder. The landscape has really changed and now it's what they call an alpine desert. It's mostly rocks and gravel. I reached the Barafu camp where many trails up the mountain converge. This camp's crowded with many new faces. We're all here waiting in limbo before the final summit, which starts after midnight tonight. Not everybody's going to make it to the top. The guides tell us to take our wallets and our passports. I originally thought this was because there was a theft problem at the camp, but later I think that maybe it's actually so that if we die, we can identify the bodies. Okay, this is it, the ascent to the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro. The first victim from our altitude passes me going downhill. He didn't make it. His guide's practically carrying him. The air is so thin and the incline is incredibly steep. I am really suffering for the remainder of this climb. And as we near the peak, we are suddenly above the clouds. And it looks really awesome. It looks like we should see gods sitting in thrones debating man's destiny. And when I reach the peak, I start to cry because I am so damn tired. I'm completely mentally wiped out. There's a line to get the photo by the famous sign at the peak, and it's finally my turn. It's so cold that my beard is frozen and my camera barely works, but I get that picture. On the way down from the peak, I fall and I hit my head, which becomes a bloody mess. And my right eye gets blurry. And I'm a little dizzy. But it seems like everybody is experiencing this type of trouble. Marie made it to the top, or so she claims. I never really see proof. 10% of the group had to turn around before reaching the summit because of the altitude. We climbed down through greener and greener and greener forests, and I'm glad to be done with this week of climbing. There's just one last event, and that's tipping the crew. Marie makes it a complete mess because she doesn't have her money, even though I discussed this with her for 3 days of the hike. But I hand out my tips, and Marie promises to pay them later. I collect my certificate of achievement, and I leave for Zanzibar the next day for a week of recovery.